Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and my Christmas decorations have started to go up early this year. We're those people. It's the day before Thanksgiving that I'm shooting this. Anyway, I have a fun video to do for you today, just kind of highlighting / reviewing / showing off this knife that is about to go live on pre-order on December 5th. It's from the Crispy Donut Community. These guys are super fun. I'll give a little bit of backstory before I dive into what they've written and all this crazy stuff that they sent me for checking out the prototype and all kinds of fun stuff. But the backstory. So at Blade Show 2022, was that this year? Yeah, that's crazy. Just back in like June. What's that? Yeah, it would have been that show in Atlanta. Anyways, these guys came up to our table, left concepts, and they bought a couple of our knives and hung out for a little bit and were chatting with us, and we just kind of hit it off. They're super fun. So Luke and Drew are the creators of the Crispy Donut Community. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. I didn't either before, but they're a Facebook group, and they're both in law enforcement. One of them is in corrections, and so they created a Facebook group where they were just at first kind of, I think, planning to do some patches and stuff. It explains more in this letter. I'll read that. And that's turned into this knife project. So it's EDC related stuff in their group, and the donut thing is a play on them being from law enforcement. But they were just super down to earth, really fun people to talk to. We hit it off. We've messaged a little bit since, and then they let me know that they were coming out with this knife and asked if I wanted to check it out. And it is a donut themed, sprinkle covered, fun knife. So these are done by QSP. They're gonna come in at, let me see, the pre-order price is going to be $60 for each. And then I'll actually have a link if you want to message me. If you message me on Instagram would be the best way to do it, at Bearded Gear. I think it's bearded_gear. Anyways, message me there if you watch this video and you plan on pre-ordering one, because I can get you $5 off because I am doing this, which is really cool of them. They sent me a link for that, so I can share that link with you when it goes live on the 5th. So anyways, these are going to be $60 each. There's 3 different iterations, so they'll also do the full set for $150 instead of $180 if you plan to get 3 different iterations of them. So anyways, it comes in what I would certainly consider to be the budget knife category. $60 is budget friendly. If you're buying all 3, then you end up getting them with that link that I have for $150. That's $50 a knife. So this is a budget knife, and as such, I'm looking at it like a budget knife, not like a Koenig Arius. Like, let's be fair here. So there's always going to be trade-offs when you're making a budget knife versus when you're just like sky's the limit making something crazy. So for a budget knife, I'm actually really impressed with this. I'm excited to talk about it some more. But I'll read this real quick because they sent this whole packet of information about it. Before I do that, since we're already a couple minutes into the video, let me show you the knife a little bit, and I'll dive into my thoughts and impressions in a couple minutes after reading through this packet. But it's a really cool design, and it's just fun. I feel like I appreciate it when people do things every now and then that are just for fun. Not everything has to be super serious. I was just having a conversation the other day. I was showing a new friend some of my knife collection while they were here for a Friendsgiving type of thing. And they were asking, oh, hold on. Sorry, interruption of a wife's phone call. Anyways, Friendsgiving, I was talking to this friend, showing him some of my knives, and he was asking about like philosophy of use. Like, how come none of my knives seemed like super tactical, and my collection just didn't seem to gravitate that way, which I thought was an insightful question to begin with for somebody who's not as deep into the hobby as I am, or probably you are watching this. But anyway, I think that it's fun to not take it all so seriously all the time. And this is a knife that does not take itself too seriously, but is still every bit a good tool. Like, all of the functional things that you need to be there are here, but yet it's blue and pink and donut themed. That's just like, why not? I don't know. And if you knew these guys, I would say like I know them, but I've met them in person one time, hung out a little bit, and we messaged since. So I don't like know them deeply, but just getting to like begin to know them, I can already tell that this is a reflection on their personality. Anyway, all right, I'm going to read this and we're going to go through what they said about it so that you understand their backstory. So dear Jake, thank you so much for taking the time to check out the Hanson. This is the Hanson. We truly appreciate it. We started this journey back in December of 2020 as a small EDC Facebook group ran by two guys. Luke is in corrections and Drew is in law enforcement, so initially we were going to get some funny cop patches done up and see where it went. Everyone associates cops with donuts, so we came up with the name Crispy Donut Community. We ran a pre-order for some donut-shaped bottle openers, and the group grew from there. Since that first pre-order, we've started a monthly patch club, released tons of donut-themed EDC items, and obtained our LLC back in February of this year. It's been a fun journey so far, and the Hanson is our entry into the knife world. The Hanson is designed in-house by Luke and pays homage to many of our favorite EDC blades, but unique enough we're happy to call it our own. We've partnered with QSP Knives for production, and the experience has been nothing short of awesome. Their attention to detail and quality is incredible, and we're extremely excited to see the Hanson in the hands of knife lovers across the world. So where did the name Hanson come from? As the story goes, in 1847, Captain Hanson Crockett Gregory poked a hole in a puck of dough and fried it, inevitably creating the first donut. What better name for the first production pocket knife, right? We wanted to create a special way to say thanks to our early backers, so we designed a limited edition poker chip and matching sticker that paid homage to the nautical theme of Captain Gregory while still keeping it in the sprinkle family. I'll show those things real quick. Nope, they're on my laptop on that side. So here's the card it comes with. But in here we have a special nautical themed poker chip. Pretty fun. Crispy Donut Community on the other side. So that's cool. And then here is the special sticker. This is rad. This one's holographic. That same kind of logo decal there. So these were in the box that the knife came in. I'll show you the box real quick before I keep moving along. Here's the bottom side of the box with the like ownership warranty card thing. And this is the box. At least that this prototype came in. I assume this is the packaging they're using. Bear in mind that's an assumption. All right, so we'll be opening the pre-order for the Hanson on December 5th at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and closing it December 31st at midnight. So you've got the month of December starting on the 5th to go ahead and get one of these ordered. We want to allow as many people to pre-order as we can while still keeping it limited so we can start production January 1st. That's awesome. Production will take approximately 3 months, so we expect for the knives to arrive sometime in March. That is impressive if they're able to do 3 months. Fingers crossed that actually happens. Having knife projects of my own, that's impressive if QSP can do that. We'll be offering the sprinkle variant as well as a black scale and a blue scale version. So this is the fun, nonsensical one, and then there's a couple more normal ones for people who aren't into pink sprinkles. And then it says, but there are already plans for different colorways and premium materials in the future. So this is a gateway drug. As a special thanks to our early pre-orders, the first 200 orders will receive a Hanson poker chip and a sticker. We have the listing for the Hanson live on the website now, and you can pick which color you'd like and put your email in to be notified when the pre-order goes live. I'll put the link to the site down below so that you can see that. Our first official drop for the Hanson once the pre-orders close will be at Blade Show 2023 in Atlanta in June. I'll be there, so that all those who pre-order will have their Hansons for a couple of months prior to them being available to the masses at Blade. So that's cool. You know, if you pre-ordered it, you get it well before they'll go on sale anywhere else. Specs for the Hanson are blade length 2.9 inches, blade thickness 3 millimeters. It's a hollow ground D2 black PVD coated blade. The handle length is 4 inches, overall length 7.0. G10 scales, black stainless steel hardware, reversible deep carry clip, ceramic ball bearings, 3.25 ounces overall weight. And the rest is just a thank you to me. So that is the letter they included with it. So let's talk about the knife a little bit now that all that is out of the way. This is a rare occasion where I shared specs because they wrote it out for me. But the thing that I noticed immediately about this knife that I really quite like is this grind. It's almost a compound grind, you could call. With the black PVD, it might be a little hard to tell, but we have a hollow ground main bevel, and it's actually brought down to a nice thin behind the edge profile. But then up to the tip, you can see where it starts to get real thick because it's coming up toward the spine. They did like this chiseled down little flat grind. I shouldn't say chisel because it's on both sides, but there is a flat grind out to the tip that's like pretty stout. It keeps it still feeling really robust at the tip. Like if you look at the tip thickness, this is not a thin tipped knife. But I love that move, that instead of just letting it get super thick up there, they did this like termination little flat grind right at the tip. I just think that was a cool move. And I have found, I've only done a little bit of cutting with this knife, if I'm being honest. A big part of the reasoning for that is this arrived when I got production samples of my AVNT, which is in production right now, and I now have prototype of my Luft RWB. So I've been carrying and testing my own knives like crazy. I've just had less time because of that. But I have had this in pocket a few times. I've processed some cardboard with it. I've cut an apple with it. I've cut some zip ties with it. I've made sure to do my like typical things, even though it just hasn't seen a ton of pocket time. But in terms of how this knife cuts, I've been impressed. It works well. For a budget knife coming in at $60, 55 with the code thing that I'll have. The blade geometry is impressive to me because I feel like a lot of budget knives, granted I don't play the budget knife game as much these days as I used to. A lot of budget knives, it doesn't seem like geometry is the focal point, like blade geometry. So I like that. Another thing that sticks out to me is the multiple deployment methods. You've got thumb studs, which actually blend in really well, and they're pretty low profile when you look at it. But then you also have a flipper tab, which is set pretty high, has some jimping on it. Oh, I failed it because I limped it like a weirdo. But the detent feels pretty good for both the flipper tab and the thumb studs. I will say it feels especially good for the thumb studs on this example that I have here. But you can middle finger flick those thumb studs. You can use the flipper tab. You can thumb flick. So I like that it's pretty fidgety for a budget knife. These bearings feel pretty good. They're not like amazing, incredible, like top of the line bearings, but again, on a budget knife, pretty good. It's smooth for sure. Yeah, all right, I'm a little all over the place, so let's just go through my regular categories: carry, cutting, ergos, and action. Action, because I was kind of already there, is good. I would like for the detent to be a little bit stronger if I were to have my, like, if I could exert my will over this knife, but that's mostly for the flipper tab. Like I said, the thumb studs work great, the positioning is good, the detent feels good for those. It's more like that I can fail the flipper tab, but if I'm focused and I'm really trying to deploy the knife and not trying to mess up, then I haven't had like failure to deploy moments in actual use. The other side of the action would be how does it close, and it can be shook down pretty easily. For a steel linered knife at this price point, I'd say this action is frankly really good, and it'll probably break in even more over time, especially since it's a coated blade, coated liners, all that kind of stuff. I imagine these bearings are going to need to wear their path a little bit into that PVD. But the action is good. I keep putting the asterisk on it, like for a budget knife. For sub $100, I would call this a good action, let alone for right around the $50 mark. That's really good. So action, I'll say, is pretty good. Ergos, I am really impressed with. So there's something about a simple, like not overly designed knife handle profile that I just appreciate. I feel like some knives are getting real complex in the way that the handles are shaped, and there's something about when you just get a nice, fairly rectangular with a little bit of a groove, some contours where you need them, like simple knife handle shape that makes me happy. This knife, I imagine most people who are looking at knives in this price range probably don't have an absurd like collection of knives like some would say I do. For a lot of people, this is probably one of only a couple of knives, or maybe this is just going to be like their pocket knife. And this knife ergonomically makes sense as a knife. As the cutting tool that it is, it's great. And a hammer grip, I love it. Super comfortable. There's nothing hot spotty, nothing jabbing me, poking me. I like that. Saber grip, also really good, probably even better than a hammer grip. We've got a little stretch of jimping right here. It's placed forward of this spot where you typically see jimping, a little bit beyond that, so it's right where my thumb lands. I like that. If you're gonna do jimping, put it where your thumb is actually supposed to land, and don't make it so aggressive that it hurts. This jimping is textured, but it's not painfully aggressive. In a draw cut, that's actually really comfortable as well. Sorry, my focus is not going great with all this stuff behind me, is it? Anyways, draw cut works great if you're needing to pull through something. Reverse grip, this might be my favorite grip on the knife. It's stupid comfortable. The way the handle terminates up here, the size of it for my hands, everything is super comfortable that way. Reverse grip draw cut, plenty comfortable. I do start to get a little bit of the flipper tab kind of contacting my palm there, but not in any way that's like uncomfortable. It's just that I can feel it there. So ergonomically, like simplicity won out on this knife at making it really good. So the ergos are, frankly, I would say very good. Like this is a nice ergonomic profile, and it's because of its simplicity, I think, that it's so nice to hold on to. Another thing too is I should mention the texture of this G10 is really nice. So not only on this sprinkle version do we have all these cutouts, which add some texture, but even just like the surface of the G10, the peel ply finish that's applied to it, is, in my opinion, a great balance between having real tactile texture and not being overly rough. This isn't a pocket shredder. It's not going to shred up your hands. It provides grip without being annoying. And that's a tough balance sometimes, it appears, for people on G10. So I like that they did that. Like the way that this G10 is finished is nice, and then with the little sprinkly cutouts, you get that extra little bit of grip where your kind of fingertips can dig into those slots, if you will. Maybe that's what she said. I don't know. All right, so we've talked action and ergos. Let's talk carry. This is a phenomenal knife to carry. Not only do we have a deep carry loop over clip that goes slightly beyond the butt end of the knife. It's like just a millimeter or so beyond it, but this knife sits all the way in your pocket and all you see is clip. I love that. But also if you just consider the thinness of this knife. I don't know what the overall thickness is. I don't have calipers out here, but it is a thin knife. So for it to be lined on both sides with steel liners, this G10 is kept really thin, frankly, and the nested liners I'm sure helped a ton with that. These G10 kind of scales, covers, whatever you want to call them, are not that thick overall, but it's like the overall profile just feels nice and thin to me, and it's not a super thin blade stock. So the fact that they just like stacked everything so close and overlapping and got this as thin as they did, I am appreciative of, because the couple of things that make a knife extraordinarily comfortable to carry are when its clip is properly deep carry, when its overall thickness of the handle is kept thin, and when it's lightweight. And this knife, although it doesn't feel like a feather, it's certainly not heavy, so it's bordering on lightweight. And then it's super thin and it has that deep carry clip. I guess the only other things I would say that sometimes come into play are like, is the flipper tab annoying? Is it jutting out? And in this case, it's not. It's slanted down, so if your hand's coming in like this, imagine you're not running into it in an annoying way. Like this knife in pocket, I think it's probably my favorite category. And I spoke highly of ergos. It's really, really good in pocket. It's just slim, it's deep, it's fairly light, and it's not sharp anywhere, and it just works. So I really like that. All right, so that leaves us with cutting. And I already touched on this blade grind. This knife cuts really, really well. I feel like especially for this stock not being overly thin to begin with, they listed it at 3 millimeters. The hollow grind just does a lot of work for you in cutting tasks because it's nice and thin down behind the edge, because the edge that's on it, frankly, came to me really, really nice. It's a good cutter. Now, that being said, is D2 my favorite steel? No. I don't love D2. But But at $50, I'm okay with D2. It probably wouldn't be my absolute first choice if I were to be nitpicky. I feel like in this range, I love seeing that there's like 14C 28N becoming a more prolific thing at this point. But D2's fine. At this price point, it's not something that I should be complaining about. And the grind, the edge, the profile of the blade, all of it comes together to work really, really well for me. So yeah, I like this knife. I think it's a really good job, especially for a first offering, coming in at a budget price point. It's cool and it's fun. Like there's the factor of fun in this knife that I think sets it apart. So if you're looking at knives in the budget realm, I think even if this didn't have this fun sprinkly colorway and come from a fun sprinkly Facebook group, it would be a good knife. It could stand on its own 2 feet. But the fact that there's like the fun behind it really makes it unique to me. So I love to see it. I think it's great. I wish them success. I hope they keep on going because this is a great entry into the knife world, being their first design. So anyway, that's the Hanson. This is a prototype. And again, I will have links down below for the listing on their site. If you are interested in getting one of these and would like that little coupon code that I'll have, shoot me a message on Instagram. That'll be the best way to do it. And I'll send you that link so that you have it. And yeah, these are cool. And these guys are super fun, and they're people that I feel happy to support. They're really cool dudes. So appreciate you guys for checking it out. Appreciate the Crispy Donut community, Luke and Drew, for sending this to me. And we'll see you guys on the next one.